Hello, Fredlings. I am Claude from Chicago. We are here for real people with real creativity in real time. Fredlings, never give up, and I won't in you. And today we are inside of Lucky Mountain Zoo here in Planet Zoo on our second time-lapse video of this series. So I hope you Fredlings enjoy, so buckle on up. And today we are building the King Penguin exhibit, as you see by our title here. And I try to do this in the most efficient way as possible by building one section of this building and duplicating it to the other side. But Claude, what building are you building? Well, we are building the King Penguin entrance, and this is going to be the main icon of the zoo. It's not going to be super tall, but it is going to be the tallest building inside of the zoo, being placed in the center. From there on the outsides, like I kind of talked about before, we're going to have South America, we are going to have Australia, and we are going to have the winter animals inside here. And later on, if the series is still doing well, which I believe it will be, we'll be adding on additions of Europe and maybe back to Africa. But inside of the main entrance, I wanted to build something a little bit different, giving us two sections on the side where we can have bathrooms and sell some merchandise and be sort of a split section, because the King Penguins are going to be right dead smack behind the main entrance so that the guests can come straight into our San Diego Zoo and see the beautiful penguins right away. Because in the zoos here, at least in Chicago, I never had an opportunity to see a penguin in real life. And I always feel like it's sort of out the way, and I wanted to make sure that this exhibit had the penguins sort of the first thing you see when you walk into this building, so it's not hidden away, there's nothing to hide, and it's the main attraction, so that people, I keep saying the same phrase, but so that they have an opportunity to see it instantaneously. This is probably one of the most unique exhibits I have built to date. We are recording this a few months after building it. And the reason for that is I've been really crazy busy with a brand new job I have. I haven't announced it yet on stream, but I will be announcing it hopefully shortly than later. But I have a new job and I'm switching positions, so it's been very, very crazy. I have a lot more creativity in it, so it's very exciting, and I cannot wait to tell you all about it. So I can't really say much more. Can't say much more, but here in the zoo, we are going to start off with building the habitat itself, and I'm talking about this being unique because this actually incorporates 3 levels of integration of seeing the penguins. The first exhibit of seeing the penguins is from the eye-to-eye contact, face-to-face contact, so you can see them at the same level as their height. You can see them underground or underwater, as you clearly can see there, and then you can see them from the top. I don't think I've seen very many creators build something like this, and we're trying to keep this to a realistic zoo but with an unrealistic budget, so don't get too carried away. This is sort of a more high budget zoo, but I do want it to be realistic in that sense of, you know, this is a possibility with an unlimited budget, but you could see this in real life at a higher park zoo. I wouldn't call this Disney level. I'm still going to try to keep it somewhat realistic, but I do want to have it be like a very high budget park, because there's obviously going to be a ton of king penguins. Who doesn't like king penguins or penguins just overall? So all you see me doing there is adding in some lights, adding in some rocks for the penguin sleeping area. You're not going to see that on the first person time-lapse view. You're also not going to hear me say the park's name right or the zoo's name right in that time-lapse or the live section a little bit later on in this video. So don't get upset. It is Lucky Mountain Zoo, not Lucky Lakes Zoo, okay? I'm getting those confused with the Lucky Lakes park we have on this series. Simon came up with the name, by the way, Lucky Mountain Zoo, which was perfectly fitting for our zoo. So I'm a real big fan of incorporating lights, and I say this every video and I always seem to forget it. Make sure you do the lights while you're building this as you start, like on the walls. It'll save you so much time in the long run, because after a while it starts getting very tedious to place down lights. That's the same thing with the roof too. I would recommend, if you have an opportunity, build the roof all in one building piece. Then you won't have these strange issues that you see me doing here, trying to find little pieces to stick together. I did go in and add in the glass, which will lag your game out eventually. So don't put too many glass windows and roofs around if you're especially running on high specs. They will look nice, But your PC will not thank you. So I would recommend using more clean glass than the textured ones. That's just my recommendation for less lag. But inside of this, we are going to start working on the underground, as you see there. And I'm trying to put water back in, but obviously you can't put water back in that easy like in Planet Coaster. So you got to make sure that the penguins are not in the eligible area to walk out or walk in your area, because once you put the water down, they won't be able to go in there. I know there's an opportunity and an option so that you can box all the animals up and have them sort of hide away while you do this, but I was just not planning on doing it. This section right here, we'll talk about it in the live section. This is my favorite part of the king penguin's habitat. Is there is a pathway down here, so guests can actually walk over here and go to a restaurant. I spent so much time trying to figure out how I'm going to do this pathing for these guests to get over to this restaurant. But it turns out that the restaurant in the game actually does not need anything. I mean, all you need is to throw down the building, and then you can attach tables to it, and guests will teleport directly from the restaurant to the habitat, or wherever you have the tables placed down. I think they have to be within 99 meters of the restaurant. So we do have an area so the guests can see the chefs cooking. And we do have an entrance over here on the side. And right now you see the king penguin silhouettes decal on the wall. Eventually that will be a hole, and you will see that in the time-lapse video, because obviously I recorded the live section way after this time-lapse video existed. So there's quite a few Planet Zoo videos here that need to come out. But we're coming through here, adding in some ice rock details, popping it off, giving it a little bit of color. Even though it's not much, it's giving it a little bit of color and making this restaurant stand out. Coming on in and adding in the main sign that Simon came up with when we recorded this stream, pulling it out, putting that as a blueprint. Liam Harrison coming in with another subscription. I think this was when he had 12 months subscribed consistently. So thank you so much, Liam, and all of our contributors for doing that. We're going to go on the outside and add in some details with some trees and some plants. I saw this little cute penguin, snow penguin here in real life. I saw it with a friend of mine, and I really wanted to add that in. I didn't know where I wanted to place this, but I do end up deciding to place this sort of on this blank area on the inside of the zoo, so that, of the habitat, so that the guests can see it without it being completely hidden away. It was just a little small detail. I really wanted to add something like that here in the park. And this is sort of the insides. You see me going through with some railings. It's pretty blank, and eventually we will be adding in a lot more details and a little bit more gift shops. But we're going to be going to the live section just in a few seconds, Fredlings, and then going to some glamour shots. So I'll talk to you soon. Fredlings, I hope you enjoyed that time lapse here. And in the Lucky Lakes Zoo, we finally have ourselves a new addition. Well, actually, our second habitat in the park. Well, I guess third habitat, because technically there's two in the last episode. But here in Lucky Lakes, regardless. Lucky Zoo. Oh my goodness, that's the other series we do. So if you don't follow that, it is on our YouTube page. But this is the penguin habitat here today, the king penguins. So when you come on in the inside here, there are some additions that do get added on a little bit later. So don't be too worried. Oh no, I should show that on camera. Maybe I shouldn't have shown that on camera. But when you come on inside, you can actually go up to the second level and look out and see the beautiful view of the zoo, which isn't really much as of right now, even though we recorded this a couple months ago, I think, actually. But here inside of the zoo, we see this beautiful penguin, which we built on the time lapse, that actually glows at nighttime, because we used some lights in there, but it kind of looks a little scary at nighttime. But I saw this with a great friend of mine during the Christmas break, and I was like, you know what? We should definitely build a snowman penguin in our habitat. But inside of here, we have a wonderful penguin exhibit. The king penguin exhibit is all inside and it's all indoors, so these penguins be in a perfect environment for all year round, considering this is supposed to be in San Diego. And look at this guy doing his thing. He's showing off for the cameras of CFC. But there's 3 areas you can view the penguins. The first area is here, where it is a eye-on-eye shot, face-to-face scale with the penguins, and you can see how tall and wonderful they are. And if you come down here, you can see the king penguin sort of from the underwater view. I really find that these underwater views are so useful to have in your zoo, because people will come down here and they will look at the penguins. Plus, you can see the penguins underwater. I always feel like these inside of zoos have that touch of reality to them. Plus, it gives you something a little bit different, because a lot of people, and especially when I first started, a lot of the shots that I had in the zoo were face value, sort of stuff like this. And I really didn't like it too much, just because it was so simple. So building an indoor for your zoo really makes it pop off. And this glass here too, I never really had an opportunity to take a nice look at it from the inside angle. Usually I got to see it from the top down, but even when you're walking up, you can see the penguins on this side through the upstairs of the environment. You can see the guests out there taking pictures, and they will go to the other side and look in here as well. But the third view is the one that we are currently on, which is the upper balcony. And I know that sign is off. I will fix that later. But up here, you can see the penguins swimming around and doing their own thing. Now, I'm not sure if this would be an issue. I feel like it could be an issue, because people could throw stuff down, but I feel like there would be common respect in the zoo, so that guests wouldn't throw stuff in. But, you know, little kids nowadays would probably throw anything inside of a habitat if they had an opportunity to, because there's not really closed off for little kids. Because if you look at this little kid here, they might do that. And then over here is a sleeping quarters for them. There's not really anything in there, so we're not going to go in there and explore, but there's an ice rock thing. But this is probably my favorite part of the zoo itself, is the eating balcony. Now, we spent a lot of time here with Meep and a few other Fredlings trying to figure out how are we going to do a realistic restaurante inside of the zoo. So I came up with an idea to make a pathway down here, as you see in the time-lapse, most likely, because I actually recorded the time-lapse thing to now. But inside of here, there was supposed to be a pathway, and you just place the benches on. But remember, this is not Planet Coaster, this is Planet Zoo. So they actually introduced restaurants to the zoo. If you've already played Planet Zoo, then you have already know this is probably, this is probably normal knowledge to you. But if you don't have to place these on a pathway. You can actually place these on a building block. And guests would just teleport, just like this fine young fellow here, and teleport away. All they need to do is just come down into this area, go in line for a restaurant, and inside of the restaurants, they can get their food, which they will just walk down over here, go inside of this void, and they will just teleport to their table, and when they're done eating, they will teleport back. But that's not what you're here for. You are here for the penguins. But before we go, I want to give a massive shout out to our Twitch subscribers, tip donators, merchandise holders, and our bit donators for making all of this possible. And while we are recording this, this is the month of February. And if you want to donate or watch in any sort of way contribute to the channel, all the money and proceeds will be going to our CFC Women's Sports fundraiser. With that being said, Fredlings, I hope you enjoy these glamour shots, and we will see you next time. And remember, a real Fredling makes their own look.